Welcome to the Uncanny Valley podcast. We're the place where we take your pile of fascinating material and really dig into it. We unearth those hidden gems, the surprising facts, and maybe those aha moments you didn't know you needed.
That's us.
Today, we're stepping into a universe that's, well, it's bigger on the inside. A universe of limitless possibilities, adventure, and yeah, even the occasional angry Sontaran.
That's right. Our mission today is to embark on this incredible journey through a really unique source. We're looking at the errata, those crucial official updates and clarifications and the core rules of a certain, let's say, iconic role-playing game.
Ah, I think I know the one.
We'll be extracting the fundamental nuggets of knowledge from this pretty detailed guide, giving you a comprehensive understanding of its mechanics, the really rich lore it explores, and how it all kind of comes together to craft these epic stories.
So, like digging into the blueprint of adventure itself.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
We've got, well, a treasure trove of information here. It covers everything from the pretty mind-bending concept of time travel right through to the intricate mechanics of creating a character, and even a whirlwind tour of the Doctor's, shall we say, vast universe. Our goal is really to make sure you walk away well-informed. Doesn't matter if you're a seasoned tabletop gamer or maybe just intensely curious about how these imaginative worlds are actually built.
Yeah, and you'll learn not just the what, but the why behind things like character attributes, skill checks, and, the very fabric of space-time navigation in this game.
The why is often the most interesting part.
It is. We'll uncover how a game like this really encourages critical thinking, teamwork, storytelling, all while staying true to the spirit of, well, one of science fiction's most beloved franchises. It's truly compelling when you connect those dots and see the game's design philosophy actually working.
Okay, let's dive in then. Part 1. Stepping into the vortex, understanding the game.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's unpack this first. At its heart, this is a role-playing game. What does that actually mean for you, the player?
Essentially, you're playing a role much like an actor gets into character for a film or, a play. You get to create a brand new character completely from scratch.
Right.
You decide who they are, their backstory, how all of that influences their choices, and then during the game, you decide how your character thinks, behaves, feels, acts, all within this shared narrative.
So it's not just rolling dice and moving pieces.
No, not at all. It's about inhabiting a persona, and the game really emphasizes that your choices can dramatically change the storyline. That leads to new challenges and often incredibly rewarding experiences.
Like the Doctor herself said, new can be scary.
But also incredibly fun. Exactly.
Now, every great adventure needs a guide, right? And in this game, that's the game master. What's their pivotal role in all this?
Oh, the game master or GM, they're absolutely key. They're the ones who start the conversation, describing what's going on in the world around you.
Setting the scene.
Precisely. They also adjudicate the dice rolls, deciding if you succeed or fail based on the rules. And crucially, they have the final say on how those rules apply to the unfolding story.
So they're the storyteller, world builder.
And the arbiter of physics, yeah. They're constantly adapting to your character's actions and intentions. It's a massive responsibility, definitely. But also incredibly creative. You're shaping an entire universe for the players to explore.
Okay, before the adventure even properly begins, there's this crucial step called Session 0. What actually happens there, and why is it so important for setting the stage?
That raises a really important question. How do you make sure everyone actually has a good time? Role-playing games should be fun, exciting, imaginative.
And safe.
And safe, absolutely. Players need to feel comfortable. Session 0 is where everyone, players and the game master, gets together to discuss the kind of game they want to play. You share expectations, make sure the GM's vision aligns with what the players are actually keen to explore.
Setting boundaries from the start.
Exactly. The game explicitly encourages using safety tools. Things like the X card, which is super simple. Anyone can just tap this card on the table if a scene or topic goes too far.
And it just stops. No questions asked.
No questions asked. It's immediately dropped or skipped over. It also suggests lines and veils. Lines are hard limits, topics, or situations that absolutely won't be included. Things like maybe graphic sexual situations or extreme horror. It mirrors the tone of the TV series, which can be scary, sure, but rarely goes into really extreme territory.
Okay, and veils.
Veils are more like fade to black moments. A sensitive scene might happen, but it's not explicitly described in detail. It happens off-screen, essentially.
So it's all about collaboration, making sure everyone's on the same page, feels secure. That seems fantastic for any creative endeavor, especially a shared story like this one.
Definitely. It builds trust right from the beginning. Oh, and a small but interesting detail the source material points out.
Go on.
This game, being quintessentially British, predominantly uses the metric system. Kilometers, meters,
Right,
kilograms.
makes sense.
So if you're traveling back in time, maybe before 1970, or to places that still use the imperial system like the US, you might need some rough conversions.
Like quick mental math?
Yeah, nothing too complicated. The guide suggests things like having miles to get kilometers or just equating meters with yards. It's not perfectly accurate, obviously, but it keeps things simple and keeps the narrative flowing.
Keeps the game moving.
Exactly. And it also notes occasional British spellings adds a bit of local flavor. Think extra U's in words like color,
Oh,
fewer
wow.
Z's,
Little touches.
little touches. One more practical note on any math you might do. When you need to calculate something like damage, you always round down. But when you're healing or recovering, you round up.
Oh, that's interesting. So damage is slightly less impactful.
And recovery is slightly quicker,
Mm-hmm.
which, much like the doctor, always seems to favor raising up those who are down. It's a subtle nudge towards resilience.
Okay, moving on. Part 2. Building your time-traveling persona. You're ready to step into the TARDIS, or maybe some other time machine. The first question is, who are you going to be? The game starts with your character's concept.
Right, your concept. It's essentially who you are in a nutshell. A brief, punchy description, almost like a title or what you'd put on a very adventurous business card.
Uh-huh, okay. Examples.
It could be anything, really. A doctor, obviously, or a probationary police officer, a retired bus driver, maybe even a shy university student. The source gives an example of a player named Millie creating Will Bradford, who is exactly that, a shy university student. He's described as a techie nerd, maybe a bit unlucky in romance.
So that initial idea helps shape everything else.
Absolutely. It helps you quickly define your role in the story and gives the game master hooks to tailor the adventure to your character's strength and weaknesses.
Okay, so beyond who you are, there's what makes you tick, your focus. How does that add depth?
Focus is a single word that describes your character's core drive, their passion, their main motivation. It could be romantic, like Millie's character, or compassion, heroic, maybe curiosity.
Simple enough.
Well, what's particularly clever about this mechanic is that a focus always has both a positive and a negative side.
Ah, okay. Duality.
Exactly. So, for Millie's shy university student with the romantic focus, positively he gets bonuses when he's trying to be charming or showing compassion. Negatively, though, he might be too trusting or easily distracted by an attractive face.
So it influences gameplay mechanically and through role-playing.
Precisely. It drives organic role-playing because you're encouraged to play at both sides. And here's the kicker. You can actually earn story points, we'll talk more about those later, when you embrace the downsides of your focus.
Oh, interesting. So leaning into the flaws is rewarded.
Yes. Like a character with the dreamer focus gets bonuses for imagining the impossible, but the downside is they might get distracted or unfocused at crucial moments. Playing that out earns you points. So you really have to be comfortable with your chosen focus, as it's meant to steer your character's actions and thoughts throughout the game.
Got it. And now every hero needs a backstory. The game provides 2 types of experiences to flesh out your character's history. First, the personal background experience.
Right, personal background experience is a significant event, or maybe even a smaller defining moment from your past that makes your character unique.
Like what?
Did you escape from a secret government facility? Win a national chess tournament? Maybe you survived a starship crash. Millie's character, Will, for example, might have had his best friend disappear mysteriously years ago. Or maybe he won the school science fair with some revolutionary robot he built.
So these aren't just flavor text.
Not at all. They can be cashed in later in the game. As your character grows and learns from these past events, you can use them to gain new skills or even distinctions.
Okay, and the second type is the shared background experience. I find this really intriguing because it instantly connects you to the other characters in the group.
Exactly. This is a fantastic mechanic. It ties your character directly to other player characters, or maybe important places or significant events within the game world before the game even starts.
So you already have history together.
You could. It might be a forgotten summer romance with another player's character. Or maybe a helpful teacher who pushed both of you through a tricky time. It could even be unintentionally making an enemy of someone important through a shared misunderstanding.
Like the example character.
Yeah, Millie's character, Will, has a crush on Tiffany, another player character. And Tiffany, in turn, was tutored by a mysterious Miss French, who could be an NPC or even another character. These shared connections build group cohesion right from the start.
And give the game master loads of story hooks.
Absolutely. Hooks that often involve other players' characters directly. You could even decide characters are related or have a complex romantic history. It adds layers of built-in drama and potential from session 1.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. The 6 core attributes. What are they and what do they tell us about a character's fundamental makeup?
Right, the building blocks. These are awareness, coordination, ingenuity, presence, resolve, and strength. They define your character's fundamental capabilities.
How are they rated?
They're rated from 1 to 6, where 6 is considered the human maximum. Though, as we all know, aliens and certainly Time Lords can exceed this, showing they are truly something special, as the game puts it.
And what's average?
An average human would have attributes around 2 or 3. The Doctor's companions, though, they typically have some above-average qualities, reflecting their ability to keep up.
Okay, let's break them down. Awareness.
Awareness deals with your 5 senses, plus that indefinable 6th sense. Your intuition, your ability to notice things others miss. High awareness means spotting tiny details, sensing danger, maybe noticing a cybermat scurrying under the furniture before it attacks. Average is 3. A 6 is uncannily perceptive.
Coordination.
That measures your physical agility reactions, hand-eye coordination, dexterity, catching things, dodging attacks, performing delicate tasks. A 6 is for professional racing drivers or top surgeons. Average again is 3.
Ingenuity. Sounds like brains.
Exactly. It's your intelligence, reasoning, lateral thinking, general knowledge. The Doctor famously demonstrates that brains are often more powerful than brawn, right?
Definitely.
And the game explicitly states ingenuity is the Doctor's greatest weapon. For humans, a 6 is reserved for the keenest intellects. A score of 4 or 5 indicates a flexible mind, someone who can adapt to stressful situations or deduce complex puzzles from just a few clues. Average is 3. That's how you carry yourself.
Yeah.
Charm, charisma, maybe your ability to intimidate. It's about making an impression. A 6 means you're awe-inspiring. Average 3.
Resolve. Willpower.
Precisely. Your determination, your ability to resist fear, temptation, or persuasion. A 6 means you're almost immovable from your convictions. Someone who can resist nearly any terror or mental influence. Average is 3.
And finally, strength.
Pure physical power and endurance. Lifting things, breaking things, resisting physical hardship. Average is 3.
So when you're building a character, you get points to allocate across these 6. How does that work, and how does it shape the character?
You get 18 points to spend when you're building your character. You have to buy at least 1 point each. But beyond that, you distribute them how you see fit.
So you can specialize.
Absolutely. Using Millie's character again, she made Will smart with Ingenuity 5 and nimble with Coordination 4, but weaker with Strength 2 and a little less naturally charismatic with Presence 2. It creates a balanced but clearly defined character type.
Could you make someone more average?
Definitely. You can even underbuy attributes, maybe take a 1 or 2 and 1 to save those points to spend on skills instead if you want a more normal person rather than one of those consistently above average companions.
Yeah.
This careful purchasing really reflects your character's core nature and how they'll approach problems in the game.
Okay, so attributes are the foundation. Beyond these inherent traits, characters have learned abilities or skills.
There are 12 of these, right?
Correct. 12 broad skills. And you get another 18 points, skill points this time, to distribute among them.
Again, encouraging specialization.
Very much so. You don't have to be good at everything. You might put 3 or 4 points into a few key skills that fit your concept, and maybe 1 or 2 points in others that might just come in handy. While skills can theoretically advance above 5 later in the game, it's rare for starting characters unless it perfectly reflects their profession. Maybe a university professor starting with Science 7, but that needs GM approval.
And you mentioned conflict as an example. That covers a lot. It does. Conflict covers all forms of confronting an enemy. Close combat, like fists or swords, ranged attacks like guns or bows, even psychic attacks, or just a really forceful argument. It's very broad.
But then you can refine it.
Yes, with specializations. Within conflict, you could take a specialization like boxing or pistol or argument. If you use that specific aspect of the skill, you get a +2 bonus on your roll.
Okay, what are some other key skills? Convince.
Convince is about getting people to do what you want. It covers everything from lying convincingly to inspiring leadership. It's usually paired with your presence or sometimes resolve attribute. Specializations could be fast talk or leadership.
Craft. Sounds very hands-on.
It is. Very broad creative activities, woodcarving, playing guitar, knitting, even rapping. You take specializations for specific things like metalwork or singing.
Intuition, like awareness, but learned.
Kind of. It's a trained ability to spot discrepancies, notice body language, sense danger. Very useful for security guards, detectives, therapists. Specializations include empathy or sense danger.
Knowledge. That seems crucial for a Doctor Who game.
Absolutely vital. It's how much your character knows about the universe, history, species, events, the Doctor's greatest weapon, alongside ingenuity.
Medicine. Pretty self-explanatory.
Healing, medical procedures, paired with ingenuity for diagnosis or maybe coordination for delicate surgical work, specializations like surgery or veterinary medicine,
Science.
knowledge of physics, chemistry, biology, quantum mechanics, the works, paired with ingenuity for developing theories or building inventions, specializations like astrophysics or mathematics.
Subterfuge.
Sneaking around, yes, stealth, lockpicking, safe-cracking, disguise, usually paired with coordination for the physical side or ingenuity for the intellectual side, like hacking. Specializations might be hacking or disguise.
Technology. Fixing things.
Manipulating, repairing, and understanding devices, usually paired with ingenuity. Specializations could be computers or, very specifically, TARDISes.
Ah, interesting. And transport.
Driving cars, piloting aircraft or starships. It's broad, but specializations can refine it to specific vehicle types, like spaceship or motorbike.
So a character might be a real brain box, like Millie's, focusing on knowledge, science, and technology.
Exactly. Millie's character, Will Bradford, took athletics 2 just for dodging aliens and running away.
Sensible.
Very. But then he put points into knowledge 3, science 4, and technology 3, making him a proper brain box. The game really encourages you to pick skills that deeply reflect your concept and how you envision playing your character.
And you mentioned earlier how this links to time travel.
Right, through your home time period and technology level. This dictates how familiar you are with different tech. Modern-day Earth, say 20th, 21st century, is tech level 5. Gallifrey is level 10. The Stone Age is level 1.
So it affects how you use skills.
Absolutely. A character from an earlier time might struggle to understand or use advanced technology effectively, getting penalties on their rolls. And vice versa, someone from the future might find primitive tech baffling. It makes the temporal setting a tangible part of your character's strengths and weaknesses. Riverson, for example, is from the 51st century, tech level 8. The Doctor, from Gallifrey, level 10. It matters.
Now, here's where things get really interesting for me. Distinctions. These sound like unique traits, maybe almost like superpowers.
They absolutely can be. Distinctions give your character unique abilities. They often reflect an alien nature, like being a Silurian or a Sontaran, or maybe specialized training, like being a time agent.
But there's a catch.
Always. They come with a downside to balance them out. You're limited to taking 2 when you create your character, and each one reduces your starting pool of story points by 2.
Okay, examples. Like the Sontaran one.
Right. Being a Sontaran gives you natural toughness. You reduce any damage you take by 2 points, which is huge. But the downside is Sontarans fear nothing. So you might feel compelled to impulsively rush into conflict, even when it's foolish. And if you roleplay that downside well...
You earn story points back.
Exactly. Feeds back into the system.
Mm.
Or take the Time Lord distinction. It's powerful, obviously. It unlocks regeneration, the potential for attributes higher than 6, mild telepathy, that handy respiratory bypass system.
Sounds amazing.
It is, but it costs a lot of starting story points. It allows for incredibly unique playstyles, though, without bogging the game down with tons of complicated calculations for every alien ability. The game uses these distinctions to focus on narrative fun and character flavor.
Are they always alien powers?
Not necessarily. There's also a distinction called experienced. It gives you more points to spend on your attributes and skills, representing someone older and more capable. But the downside might be that you're older, maybe more cynical, perhaps haunted by a traumatic past that can come back to affect you. It's a brilliant way to add depth and complexity.
Okay, you keep mentioning story points. They sound incredibly useful. What's their core purpose in the game?
They are absolutely crucial. Story points are a meta currency, yes, but they're more than just points. They're the game's really ingenious way of injecting that true Doctor Who spirit into every moment.
How so?
Imagine being able to bend probability, defy the impossible, maybe even charm a villain into hesitating. Not just because of a lucky die roll, but because your character embodies that heroic determination, that spark.
So they let you tweak the narrative.
Exactly. Tweak the narrative in your favor is how the book puts it. You can use them to save yourself from injury, get a crucial edge over villains, or even do something truly remarkable or impossible.
How many do you start with?
Most characters start with 12, but you lose 2 for each distinction you take at creation.
And you earn them back through play.
Yes, through good role-playing, acting consistently with your character's personality and focus, especially the negative aspects, or simply by making the game more fun and exciting for everyone at the table. We'll definitely explore how they work in more detail when we get to the mechanics section, but they are vital for steering the plot in dramatic ways. They ensure there's always a chance for that doctor moment of sheer brilliance or unlikely survival.
Okay, so you've got your concept, focus, attribute, skills, maybe a distinction. Beyond all the numbers, how do you truly bring a character to life and make them feel, well, real?
It's all about the finishing touches, as the game calls them. Giving them a name, obviously, expanding on their initial concept with a more detailed background story, and really helpfully answering 10 questions about their life.
10 questions. Like what?
Things like, what is your family like?
What?
What do you wish you could change about your past? Whoa, what are your best and worst memories? And crucially, what is your biggest secret?
Ugh, secrets. Always good for drama.
Always. These questions help you create a more three-dimensional person. Maybe they reveal a hidden criminal past, a secret love affair, or even a hidden alien identity that might come out during play.
How much detail do you need?
It's entirely up to you.
Yeah.
Sometimes a basic concept is enough, and the details develop naturally through playing the game, much like how characters evolve over seasons on a long-running TV show. Other players love writing pages of backstory. Both work.
Right. Makes sense. Okay, let's move into part 3. The rules of the game action and consequence.
Let's get mechanical.
Now that we understand who you are and when you're from, let's talk about how you actually act in this universe. When do you put all those skills and attributes to the test? How does the game decide if you succeed? So fundamentally, when do you actually roll those dice?
The basic rule is really simple. If your character tries to do something difficult, where there's a genuine chance of failure, you roll.
So not for everything.
No. Walking across a room, having a simple conversation, eating, those don't normally need rolls. Those are just assumed actions. But throwing a cricket ball with pinpoint accuracy, fixing a sparking computer console while Daleks are closing in, or running down a crumbling staircase without tripping, that's when the dice come out.
It's all about the risk.
Exactly. If there's no meaningful chance of failure, or if the game master decides it's trivial or something you've essentially already accomplished, no roll is needed. It keeps the game focused on the dramatic moments.
Okay, walk us through the mechanics of a roll then. What's the sequence of events when you do need to roll?
Right. First, you, the player, declare your intent. You state exactly what your character wants to achieve. I want to leap across the chasm, or I want to disable the security camera.
Clear goal?
Clear goal. This helps the game master decide how tricky the task actually is, so they can assign a difficulty number. That's your target number to beat.
Okay. Then what?
Then you and the GM figure out the most suitable attribute, like ingenuity for something brainy, coordination for something dexterous, and pair it with the most relevant skill, like technology for fixing that console, or athletics for leaping the chasm.
And specializations.
If you have a specialization that directly applies, like leaping under athletics or security systems under technology, you add a +2 bonus to your roll.
Who picks the attribute and skill, GM or player?
Usually the game master picks the most logical combination. But sometimes, if multiple options could reasonably fit, you as the player might be able to argue for using the one you're best at. Like maybe a surgeon performing a delicate operation could use coordination for steady hands or ingenuity for their diagnostic knowledge. Depends on the situation.
Okay, attribute plus skill decided. Then the dice.
Then you roll 2 standard 6-sided dice, add the numbers shown on them together, and then add your chosen attribute value and your skill value to that dice total.
And compare it to the difficulty.
Exactly. If your final total equals or exceeds the difficulty number the GM set, you succeed. If your total is lower, you fail.
Simple enough.
On the surface, yes. But here's where it gets really interesting and adds so much flavor. The actual numbers rolled on the individual dice matter, not just the final sum.
Ah, okay. So a success isn't just a success in this game, is it? It sounds like there are different levels or qualities of success and failure.
Precisely. This unique dice system is brilliant because it ensures almost every roll, even a technical failure, propels the story forward in unexpected and interesting ways. It avoids those frustrating dead ends you get in some games.
How does it work?
Okay, so if you roll a 6 on either of the 2 dice and your total meets or beats the difficulty, It's not just a success, it's a brilliant result.
Brilliant.
Meaning, you not only achieve your goal, but something unexpectedly positive happens as well. Think of it like those moments when the doctor's plan works out even better than expected due to some happy accident. Your attack might do extra damage. You might find a crucial hidden clue you weren't even looking for while disabling that camera. The GM gets creative.
Okay, cool. What if you fail the total, but still roll a 6?
That's an almost. You didn't quite get what you wanted. Your total was too low, but because you rolled a 6, it wasn't a total disaster. Something advantageous still happens, even in failure.
Example.
Maybe Rory tries to remove an alien implant from someone and his total fails, but he rolled a 6. So he doesn't get the implant out cleanly, almost, but in the process he discovers it's wired to an explosive device, giving the team vital information they wouldn't have had otherwise.
So failure still provides information or a minor win.
Exactly. It prevents those frustrating moments where a single bad roll stalls the entire adventure. It keeps the narrative dynamic and unpredictable, just like a good Doctor Who episode.
What about rolling a 1?
Rolling a 1 introduces a complication. If you roll a 1 on either die, even if your total means you succeed, it means you only barely scrape through. You achieved your goal, but something goes slightly wrong, or there's an unforeseen negative consequence.
Like, you disabled a camera, but it sparks loudly, alerting a guard?
Perfect example. Or you leap the chasm, but twist your ankle on landing.
And what about doubles? Double 6s?
Double 6s boxcars are always a brilliant success, regardless of your total score. It represents pure serendipity, a moment of incredible luck or genius.
And double 1s?
That's always a disastrous failure. Things go spectacularly wrong, often in a way that makes the situation much worse.
Wow. So the dice themselves tell a story?
They really do. This system encourages creative interpretation from the game master. They can even weave in details related to your other skills into the outcome. Like, maybe Rory successfully removed that implant. Success. But because he rolled a 1, barely. There's a complication. But the GM might add that because his awareness skill is high, he also noticed a strange symbol on the implant just before it came out, even though awareness wasn't used for the roll itself. Adds depth.
That covers individual actions. But what happens when the challenge is simply too daunting for one person? Or you need to tackle something that requires more than just a quick single roll?
Good question. That's where cooperation comes in. Many hands make light work.
How does it work mechanically?
One character takes the lead on the task, making the main roll. Then other characters who have suitable skills can help out. Each helper provides a bonus to the lead character's roll, usually a +2 bonus per helper.
Can anyone just jump in?
The game master might limit how many people can realistically help, or decide which skills are actually relevant, just to keep things plausible. You can't have 20 people trying to help pick one tiny lock.
Makes sense. And what if a task is just incredibly hard, even with help?
For those really tough challenges, you can choose to take your time. If you spend twice the normal amount of time on a task, you add a +2 bonus to your roll. Spend 3 times as long, you get +4. 4 times as long, +6, and so on, up to a maximum bonus of +10 if you spend 6 times the normal duration.
So patience pays off.
It can, yeah. It makes even nearly impossible tasks potentially achievable if you have the time, and the game master agrees it's plausible for that specific task. You probably can't take your time defusing a bomb with 1 second left, though.
Probably not. Okay, let's circle back to story points. You mentioned they're this meta currency. How do they actually let you bend reality in these mechanical situations?
They're incredibly versatile, probably the most defining mechanic of the game, really. They genuinely allow you to bend the laws of probability, tweak the narrative outcome, save yourself from dire consequences, or gain that vital edge over your opponents.
So how do you spend them?
You can spend them in lots of ways.
Yeah.
Spending just 1 or 2 points might give you a tiny benefit, like suddenly remembering where you dropped that vital piece of equipment. Or maybe realizing you didn't drop it after all. It was in your pocket the whole time.
Convenient.
Very. Spending 3 or 4 points allows for a minor change to the situation. Maybe figuring out how to restart a disabled spaceship engine, or perhaps making a villain's previously loyal sidekick suddenly have a crisis of conscience and hesitate.
And the big spend.
It's a major expenditure, costing 5 or 6 points, lets you perform truly remarkable, seemingly impossible feats. The book uses the example of Rose absorbing the heart of the TARDIS, that kind of scale. Or maybe convincing a major villain to actually spare your group against their better judgment.
Who decides the cost and if it's allowed?
The game master ultimately determines the cost based on the scale of the effect. and they have to approve the idea to make sure it fits the story and isn't completely game-breaking. You can also spend story points for smaller mechanical benefits, like temporarily ignoring the negative effects of a condition you've gained from damage, or adding a temporary +2 bonus to a skill roll, effectively giving you a flash of brilliance in that specific moment.
So if Graham fails to hack that computer, say he rolled an 8 but needed a 15.
That's a definite failure, normally.
Hmm.
But Graham's player could spend story points. Maybe they spend 3 points to add +3 to his roll, turning it into an 11, still a failure, but closer. Or maybe they spend, say, 5 points to turn that failure directly into a barely success. They just scrape through.
That sounds incredibly empowering for players. It avoids that feeling of being totally screwed by one bad roll.
Exactly. And it works the other way, too. If you get a barely succeeding, but with a complication, you can choose to downgrade it to an almost failing, but with a minor advantage, in order to regain 1 story point.
Oh, interesting. So you can trade success with complication for failure with advantage, get a point back.
Yep. It encourages more dramatic, close call moments and fuels the story point economy for later, bigger heroics. Even gadgets, like the famous sonic screwdriver, have their own pool of story points, separate from the characters. The sonic might start with, say, 3 points, allowing it to do novel things like send a communication signal via a microwave oven without using up the character's personal story points. This flexibility is what makes them such a powerful tool for narrative control, ensuring player agency is always right there at the forefront.
Okay, they sound amazing. Given all that power, how do you actually earn these valuable points during the game?
You gain them primarily through good play. That means acting authentically in character, embracing your concept and focus, especially the negative aspects of your focus, as we mentioned, and just generally contributing to making the game fun and exciting for everyone at the table.
So role-playing awards.
It's essentially, yes, but also for specific actions. Doing something remarkable, like taking a big risk, maybe sacrificing something important for your friends, or making a truly heroic choice, like saving innocent bystanders at great personal cost, that's typically rewarded with 1 to 3 story points by the game master.
It's about embodying that heroic spirit of the show.
Exactly. However, the game also has a strong moral compass built in. Unnecessary killing, particularly acting in cold blood against unarmed or helpless opponents, that causes you to immediately lose all your currently held story points.
Wow, all of them. Harsh.
It is. And if the act is deemed particularly callous or cruel by the game master, they might even deduct half of all the other players' story points too.
Why the others?
The implication is that they stood by and allowed it to happen. They should have intervened. It really reflects the Doctor's ethos that, good men don't need rules. But there are lines you don't cross. Violence should be a last resort, not a first option.
That's a really strong mechanical enforcement of the show's themes.
Okay, when things get tough and talking fails, how does conflict work? You said it's not just about fighting, right?
You're absolutely right. Conflict in this game isn't just about punching or shooting. It applies to any contested action where there's active opposition trying to stop you.
So what counts as conflict?
It could be a fistfight with a Sontaran, definitely. But it could also be a battle of wits, trying to outsmart the master, a tense social argument, trying to convince a frightened civilian official to help you, or even trying to mentally dominate a rogue AI.
How does it work mechanically?
It uses the same core mechanic. Attribute plus skill plus dice roll against a difficulty. In a conflict, both sides declare their intent, what they're trying to achieve that round. Then they roll. Often, one character's roll result sets the difficulty for the other character to beat with their roll.
What about defending yourself? You can use reactions. Instead of taking your own action, you can focus on defending, which sets the difficulty the attacker needs to overcome to affect you. The game explicitly acknowledges that words are far more powerful than weapons in the Doctor Who universe, constantly emphasizing negotiation, trickery, and outwitting opponents over resorting to violence.
So you could have a purely social conflict.
Absolutely. You could use your presence and convince skill, for instance, to launch a verbal attack against an opponent's resolve attribute. If you succeed enough, you might not physically harm them, but you could damage their reputation, humiliate them publicly, or shatter their confidence, effectively taking them out of the fight.
What's particularly clever about the system you mentioned is the turn order. It's not always about who's fastest, which is quite different from many other RPGs.
Indeed. It's a key feature reflecting the show's priorities. The turn order in a conflict round prioritizes different types of actions, encouraging players to think beyond just punching first.
How does the order go?
First, talkers act. Anyone shouting warnings, trying to persuade or distract opponents, maybe giving orders. Then movers act characters, running, sneaking, diving for cover, getting into a better position. After that, doers act, people trying to fix a device, activate a shield, rig an escape route. And finally, lastly, fighters act, those engaging in direct physical or ranged combat.
So talking and maneuvering happen before shooting.
Yes, this structure actively pushes players to consider non-physical solutions first. Can you talk your way out? Can you disable the weapon system? Can you create a diversion and run? It's very Doctor Who.
What about facing multiple opponents? Does the GM have to roll for every single Dalek?
Thankfully, no. That would slow things down too much. The game has rules for multiple opponents. The Game Master can use the cooperation rules we talked about earlier, but for the adversaries. They can treat a group of similar enemies, like a squad of Sontarans or a mob of angry villagers, as one single entity, making one roll for the group but giving them combined bonuses based on their numbers. It keeps the game flowing quickly and dynamically, focusing on the player's actions rather than bookkeeping for every single henchman.
Okay, adventures can be dangerous, as we know all too well from watching the show. What happens when characters inevitably take damage or things go wrong?
Right, consequences. Injuries generally reduce your attributes. The Game Master decides which attribute is most suitable based on the type of damage. A physical blow might reduce strength, while a terrifying psychic attack might reduce resolve.
Is all damage just number reduction?
Not always. Damage can be numerical attribute loss, yes. But it can also be stun damage, usually from non-lethal weapons, or maybe a nasty fall which renders you temporarily unconscious if you take enough. Or it can be lethal damage, think disintegration from a Dalek death ray. That usually requires spending story points just to survive, maybe by diving out of the way at the last nanosecond.
What happens if an attribute hits 0?
If any attribute drops to 0, you gain a negative condition. These are descriptive tags like sprained, which might affect strength or coordination rolls, distracted, affecting ingenuity, shamed, affecting presence, or cowardly, affecting resolve. These conditions impose disadvantages on your future actions related to that state.
Can you get multiple conditions?
Yes. If you accumulate multiple conditions, you might become injured, which gives you a general disadvantage on most rolls. Get even more, and you become wounded, making you an easy target for enemies. And if you take too much damage or too many conditions, you become defeated, meaning you're unconscious, captured, or otherwise taken out of the scene.
Can you get rid of conditions?
You can spend story points to ignore the effects of a condition for a single scene, pushing through the pain or fear. But to fully recover from them usually requires downtime between adventures, or spending experience points, XP. Earned from the adventure, it costs 1 XP to remove the first condition, 2 XP for the second, and so on, getting progressively harder.
And if things get really, really bad for a character, if they keep getting defeated?
There's a mechanism for that. If a character is defeated 3 times over the course of their adventures, their player might choose for them to leave the TARDIS for good.
Does that mean they die?
Not necessarily. It's often more narrative. They might choose to go home, realizing the adventuring life is too dangerous or emotionally taxing. Maybe they settle down somewhere they visited. Essentially, they leave the game as an active player character. It's a dramatic way for characters to exit the ongoing narrative, reflecting the harsh realities and emotional toll that constant time travel and danger can take, much like companions leaving the Doctor on the show.
It's not just aliens and villains trying to stop you, though. The universe itself can be hostile. The environment can be just as deadly, right?
That's absolutely true. The game details various environmental hazards that characters might face, adding constant tension and challenges that require ingenuity to overcome, not just combat skills.
Like what?
Well, there's suffocation drowning. If you can't breathe, you start taking damage quite rapidly, typically every 30 seconds in game time, and it's lethal unless you spend story points to gasp a hidden pocket of air or find some other miraculous escape.
Fire.
Fire can also be lethal. Failing a roll to escape or endure flames usually means getting burns, conditions, and a disastrous failure could mean instant death.
Extreme temperatures.
Extreme cold heat causes gradual attribute loss over time, usually affecting strength or resolve, requiring regular survival rolls to resist the effects.
Radiation. Always nasty in sci-fi.
Yep, radiation is invisible and deadly. It's measured in sieverts, and exposure causes significant lasting damage that might require weeks of hospital treatment, assuming you survive the initial dose.
And the big one, vacuum.
Exposure to hard vacuum is rapidly lethal. Your lungs struggle against the pressure differential, causing repeated, severe damage every 30 seconds. Story points are almost certainly needed to survive even brief exposure. These perils ensure the universe feels genuinely dangerous, requiring players to think carefully about their environment, not just the monsters.
Okay, so what does all this action resolution mean when you're actually on the move, whether you're running on foot or maybe in a vehicle chase?
Basic movement walking, jogging is usually simple, assumed unless there's a specific obstacle. If there's an obstacle like climbing a fence or navigating treacherous terrain, it requires a roll, typically coordination plus athletics for on-foot movement, or maybe coordination plus transport if you're driving or piloting.
And chases, they're pretty iconic.
Chases are handled as extended conflicts, essentially a series of linked rolls designed to build speed and excitement. Vehicles are given classifications like slow, average, or fast, and they have their own stats for armor, damage resistance, and hit capacity, how much damage they can take before breaking down.
Can you push your vehicle? Go faster.
Yes, you can push it to gain extra movement in a chase round, but you risk damaging the vehicle, especially if you roll poorly. A disastrous result could mean a crash.
What about cool stunts? Driving through a shopping mall, leaping a ravine?
Absolutely. You can attempt dramatic stunts. These usually involve a harder roll, higher difficulty, for both the character attempting the stunt and anyone trying to follow them. Succeeding might let you shake your pursuers or gain a significant advantage. The turn order in a chase can even change if someone attempts a particularly dramatic stunt. They might get to act first in the next round due to everyone reacting to them, which is a neat twist.
So if River Song is chasing, say, a rogue robot on a futuristic hoverbike through Neo-London.
Right, she'd be using her coordination and transport skills. Maybe she's taking a disadvantage penalty on her rolls because the hoverbike is rated as fast and hard to handle. But she's attempting dramatic stunts like weaving through oncoming sky traffic or power sliding around a skyscraper, raising the difficulty for the robot to keep up, all in an effort to gain ground and eventually corner it.
And the environment would matter too?
Definitely. The game provides terrain modifiers for different environments. Open roads, dense forests, zero gravity, swamps, making navigation even more challenging and tactical.
Yeah.
It really emphasizes that cinematic, action-packed feel of the best Doctor Who chases.
Fantastic. Okay, let's shift dimensions. Part 4. A big ball of timey-wimey stuff, the TARDIS and time travel.
Really fun stuff.
The source material starts with this fascinating, almost philosophical take on time itself. It says it's not a book, not a river.
Yeah.
So what is it in the context of this game? How should we think about it?
It really emphasizes that our linear perception is wrong. There is no past or future. Not really, there is only now. That's a direct quote. Your now, the present moment you're experiencing, is just one single point chosen from an infinite amount of potential nows that make up reality.
Mind-bending stuff.
It is. Time is described as beautiful, mysterious, and impossible to truly fathom, something that will always surprise you. The core message for players and GMs is, forget your conventional notions of time flowing in one direction. We move in time. Time itself doesn't move past us.
And it's dangerous.
Hugely. The book stresses that it's a very real possibility to accidentally destroy the entire universe through careless time travel. Understanding this challenging concept is absolutely central to the Doctor Who universe's unique approach to its own internal physics. It grounds the incredible abilities of things like the TARDIS in a tangible, if completely mind-bending reality.
Speaking of which, the TARDIS, arguably the most iconic time machine in fiction. What makes it so extraordinary in this game beyond just being bigger on the inside?
Well, it's practically a character in itself. It's described as sentient, almost living. Its power source is the Eye of Harmony, a captive black hole, mathematically captured and nestled safely in its heart, providing essentially inexhaustible energy. That's one of the Time Lord's greatest and most dangerous achievements.
And its defenses.
It has extensive shields that protect it against all sorts of threats, physical impacts, energy weapons, temporal disturbances. These shields can even be extended outwards temporarily to create safe corridors in space, or to protect time travelers who've just stepped outside into a hostile environment.
And the inside. Infinite rooms.
Pretty much. Its interior space is described as practically infinite. The architectural configuration system allows you to generate any room you like. Vast libraries, fully equipped scientific labs, swimming pools, greenhouses, whatever the plot requires, or the player's desire, potentially. It's a vehicle, yes, but also a home, a laboratory, and a powerful protector all rolled into one. It constantly adapts and offers immense utility.
The TARDIS is also packed with amazing gear, isn't it? What are some of its essential devices, maybe beyond the obvious sonic screwdriver?
Right, beyond the infamous sonic screwdriver, which, as the source clarifies, is really an advanced sonic manipulator for interacting with technology, scanning things, and fixing complex machines, and only rarely used for actual screws.
Oh, good clarification.
The source details some specific, perhaps less famous but still vital Time Lord tools often found in a TARDIS. Magnetic clamp. This is an adjustable clamp that can hold metallic objects with incredible force, really useful for emergency repairs like holding hull plates together or for sealing blast doors shut. It adds a formidable +12 difficulty to open anything it's clamped onto. Neutron RAM. This device delivers a highly precise physical push. It can range from a forceful wallop, enough to knock someone over, down to nudging a single atom into place. Incredibly useful for atomic-level repairs on things like silicon chips or other advanced microelectronics. Or, just for giving something a strategic kick in an awkward spot, TARDIS manuals. Now, these are interesting. They exist apparently huge, multi-volume sets, but they're described as obscure and painfully dry, written with an assumed high knowledge of temporal physics and a ridiculously verbose style. Actually using them provides a +3 bonus to repair rolls. But it doubles the time taken, because you're wading through dense, archaic Gallifreyan technobabble. Every Time Lord wants to rewrite them, but none find the time. I love that detail. It's a perfect little character note for the Time Lords, isn't it?
And then there's the really mind-bending tech, like the chameleon arch. That sounds like something straight out of a spy novel, or maybe even more extreme.
Ah, the chameleon arch. Yes, that's advanced, deep-level Time Lord technology. It allows a Time Lord to completely rewrite their biology and memories, becoming, for all intents and purposes, an ordinary human or member of another species.
Wiping their Time Lord nature.
Completely. Their true Time Lord essence, memories, and physiology are stored away, often in an inconspicuous object like a pocket watch, which is then protected by a strong perception filter so no one, not even the disguised Time Lord themselves, ever notices it or thinks to open it.
Why would they do that?
Primarily for deep infiltration behind enemy lines, or as an ultimate hiding measure if they're being hunted by incredibly powerful enemies who could track them across time and space. The system even generates a full, believable backstory and personality for the new human identity.
How do they change back?
That's the catch. They can't do it themselves because of the perception filter. It requires a friend, someone who knows the truth, to prompt the Time Lord to consciously open the storage device, the watch, usually. Only then can they regain their true self. It perfectly highlights that blend of incredibly advanced technology and huge potential for personal drama, memory loss, and secrecy.
Okay, but the TARDIS isn't the only way to travel through time in this universe, right? Others have figured it out, maybe less elegantly.
Far from it. The universe is littered with other, often much cruder or more dangerous forms of temporal technology. Time corridors. These are generally depicted as early, unstable forms of time travel. They project visible rifts or tunnels through time, but they're often dangerous and imprecise, sometimes even used for execution by primitive cultures who stumble upon the tech. Dalek Emergency Temporal Shift. This is a desperate, last resort personal escape measure used by some elite Daleks. It rips them out of their current time and throws them somewhere else in the vortex. But the destination is wildly unpredictable, only viable for escaping certain death. 51st century warp drive. Standard human warp drives from the 51st century aren't intended for time travel, but if their warp fields become unfocused or damaged, they can accidentally tear open temporal portals. If these aren't contained quickly, the repeated stress on space-time in one area can risk the complete collapse of time. Whoops. Vortex manipulator. This is that wrist-mounted device famously used by Captain Jack Harkness and other time agents from the 51st century. It allows for short, personal temporal jumps hopping through time, but it has severe limitations, often inaccurate landings, and needs significant recharge times between jumps. Still, very useful for localized temporal travel.
So time travel isn't exclusive to Time Lords, but it seems their way is generally safer and more controlled.
Much more so. These other devices illustrate the varied, often incredibly dangerous approaches to temporal mechanics found across the universe. They show that mucking about with time often comes with significant risks and unintended consequences.
If you're creating your own adventure, maybe one without the Doctor, and you want a unique journey, how do you go about creating your own time machine in this game?
You build it much like you build a character. You start with a concept. What is this time machine? Is it an advanced war TARDISes captured from the Time War? A salvaged Chula warship with time capabilities? Maybe a tesselected justice machine? Or something completely new?
And the players help define it.
Absolutely. The players and the game master define its key aspects together. Does it have a swimming pool inside? Is it old and famously unreliable, always landing in the wrong place? You even assign it attributes, just like a character.
Attributes for a machine.
Yeah. Things like awareness for its navigation systems and sensor arrays, coordination for its maneuverability through the vortex, ingenuity for its internal knowledge banks or AI capabilities, maybe even resolve for its structural integrity or willpower if it's sentient.
And distinctions, too.
Yes, you give the time machine unique distinctions that grant special abilities, but also potential flaws. Maybe it's invulnerable, but leaves a massive temporal wake. Maybe it's sentient, but also incredibly moody. Perhaps it has a cloaking device, but it drains power rapidly. This allows for incredibly diverse and personalized time-traveling experiences, making the time machine feel like an important character in its own right, not just a taxi service.
Traveling through time is clearly fraught with peril. You mentioned the time vortex earlier. What's it actually like, and what specific dangers lurk there for time travelers, even those in a TARDIS?
The vortex is described as a maelstrom of temporal energy, a rolling storm of raw time that exists outside normal space-time. It's inherently hostile and constantly tries to tear apart anything traveling through it.
So unprotected travel is bad.
Extremely bad. Even brief exposure, perhaps from a hull breach, can lead to gradual debilitation, madness, and eventually death as your personal timeline unravels. Even heavily shielded advanced ships like TARDISes aren't immune. They can suffer TARDIS damage from navigating the vortex.
Damage to the ship's attributes.
Exactly. A rough journey might reduce its coordination, making it harder to steer, or its awareness, making navigation difficult. If any of the TARDIS's attributes hit 0, it can get stuck, for example. Awareness at 0 means the ship is effectively blind and can't plot new courses, only able to complete its current journey, possibly inaccurately.
What causes this damage? What are the hazards?
The hazards are numerous and varied. Violent storms. Temporal storms can buffet the ship, potentially pushing it way off course or damaging systems. Collisions. You can collide with other objects lost in the vortex, derelict ships, debris from past time wars, even strange temporal creatures. Collisions can tangle ships together or even merge them paradoxically. Incorporeal entities. Sometimes beings that exist naturally within the vortex can phase aboard a passing ship and become dangerously physical once inside normal space-time. Future shadows. Particularly nasty. Sometimes the vortex can imprint horrifying glimpses of possible dark futures directly onto the minds of the crew, causing them to lose resolve or gain psychological conditions.
It sounds like a chaotic and deadly environment, constantly keeping you on your toes.
Absolutely. It's not just a passive void between points A and B. It's an active challenge to navigate.
Okay, so how do you actually plot a course? And what about the consequences of messing with time itself paradoxes?
Plotting a course in a TARDIS or similar vessel typically requires an ingenuity plus knowledge roll from the pilot or navigator. The difficulty increases the further you're trying to travel, both spatially and temporally.
What happens if you fail the roll?
Failure means you've plotted a flawed course. You might end up arriving late, early, or significantly off-target spatially, requiring more adjustments and potentially more exposure to vortex hazards.
And you mentioned unprotected time travel before.
Yes, if for some reason a character is traveling through the vortex without a ship, maybe using a vortex manipulator, or clinging to the outside of a TARDIS, they become the ship, effectively. They take the damage directly from the vortex hazards, usually applied to their physical attributes. Very dangerous.
Now, paradoxes. The big temporal no-nos.
Right. The game includes rules for several types. Time loops. Characters can get trapped in repeating cycles of events. Often, they only notice it through a nagging sense of déjà vu at first. Breaking out usually requires specific technology or clever manipulation to pop the bubble of loop time. Temporal breaches. These are actual holes or tears in the fabric of space-time, perhaps caused by a major historical change or a powerful temporal weapon. They can suck objects or people through, hurling them to unfamiliar times or places. Closing them is incredibly difficult, often requiring risky actions to change the course of time again to fix the original cause of the breach. Time ram. This is a desperate combat maneuver in the vortex. You can deliberately try to ram another time vessel. If successful, it folds both vessels into a single paradoxical object. Escape becomes nearly impossible because if you try to leave, you just exit back inside the folded ship structure. Nasty stuff.
Amidst all this chaos, you mentioned wake shadowing as a tactic. Sounds like a way to navigate more safely.
It is. It's a clever tactic. Wake shadowing involves carefully piloting your vessel to follow closely behind another ship traveling through the vortex. You enter their temporal wake. the slightly calmer patch of the vortex trailing behind them, effectively using them as a shield and a guide.
Is it easy to do?
It's easier if the ship you're following is less advanced or more powerful, as they tend to leave a bigger, more turbulent wake. A TARDIS, being naturally empathetic with the vortex, leaves almost no wake, making it very hard to follow this way.
Is there a risk?
Oh yes. The ship being pursued can usually detect if someone is shadowing their wake. If they want to shape you, they can suddenly cut their engines. This collapses their wake, potentially sending your pursuing ship tumbling violently through the raw vortex.
It really drives home the danger, doesn't it?
It does, and it leads to that quote the source emphasizes. To own a time ship is to own the most dangerous weapon ever created. It can destroy the universe. It underlines the immense power and terrifying responsibility that comes with the ability to travel through time.
Indeed. Okay, let's zoom out from the mechanics of time travel and look at the bigger picture. Part 5. The universe, its inhabitants, and its history.
The Grand Tour.
The universe in this game is truly vast, encompassing more than just what we normally think of as space. Tell us about N space and E space for starters.
Right. N space, which stands for normal space, is basically our universe, the one we live in, bound by the familiar physical laws like gravity, thermodynamics, cause and effect. It contains all the planets we know from the show Gallifrey, Earth, Skaro, Mars, etc.
But that's not all there is.
No. There are also other dimensions, often referred to as pocket universes. The most well-known is E-space, or exospace, a smaller, older universe existing alongside ours but with different properties. There's also the Solitract plane, described as a conscious universe that actually existed before N-space and is fundamentally incompatible with it. Its very presence can cause reality to rupture.
So adventures can take you to places with entirely different rules.
Exactly. It adds layers of cosmic complexity, allowing for travel to realms utterly beyond our conventional understanding of reality, where the normal rules of physics might simply not apply or might work in bizarre ways. Great potential for weird stories.
Okay, let's ground ourselves back in N space, specifically on Earth. It's obviously a focal point in the Doctor's adventures. What's its history in this universe, particularly regarding all those alien incursions?
Earth, or Sol 3, as it's sometimes known off-world, is undeniably the Doctor's favorite planet. And partly because of that, perhaps, it's a ridiculously frequent target for alien invasions. Some characters in the lore even suggest the Doctor's own fondness for Earth is what attracts so many threats, like drawing moths to a flame.
What about its deep history? Anything unusual there?
Oh yes, its origin story, according to some sources' reference, ties back to an ancient war between forgotten fleshling empires and the terrifying spider-like Rachnos. Apparently, a Rachnos Webstar battle planet ended up buried at Earth's core, shielding itself by attracting debris that eventually formed the planet around it.
Wow, okay. Any other ancient inhabitants?
Definitely. There were the Jaggeroth, who nearly wiped themselves out in a civil war millions of years ago, and of course the highly intelligent reptilian Silurians and their aquatic cousins, the Sea Devils. They were the dominant species long before humans evolved, but they placed themselves into hibernation, deep underground and underwater to survive a predicted catastrophe, awaiting a time when they could safely reclaim the surface. Their awakening often causes conflict.
And in more modern times, the Unified Intelligence Task Force was Earth's primary defense against these ongoing threats, wasn't it?
Yes, UNIT became the main organization tackling alien incursions, particularly during the Doctor's exiles there. It was a multinational military and intelligence group, originally under UN auspices. They had secret headquarters all over the globe, including that famous one under the Tower of London.
The Black Archive.
That's the one. Where they stored dangerous alien technology they'd recovered. Access was heavily restricted, often involving memory wipes for anyone who saw too much, to maintain secrecy. As you mentioned, the game does suggest the Doctor's constant presence might have inadvertently painted a bigger target on Earth, making it seem especially valuable to potential alien aggressors.
And humanity spread out from Earth eventually.
Yes, the Moon became a vital stepping stone for human expansion into the solar system and beyond, eventually housing its own cities, industries, and even universities comparable to those back on Earth.
Okay, so beyond the big two, the Daleks and Cybermen, who we'll get to, what are some of the other iconic threats players might encounter, particularly those often associated with Earth?
Oh, there's a whole gallery of memorable monsters, each forcing the Doctor and companions, and thus the players, to find creative, often non-violent solutions you might run into. Autons. These are the plastic mannequins, or sometimes even toys or ordinary objects, animated by the disembodied Nestine consciousness. They can create duplicates of people and infuse everyday plastic items like wheelie bins or even daffodil flowers with deadly mobility. They're incredibly tough, usually immune to bullets, but cease functioning if their control signal is cut off. Zygons, humanoid aliens covered in suckers, known for their shapeshifting. They're nomadic refugees, often survivors of the Time War, who can create perfect duplicates of other sentient beings, including their memories and mannerisms, in order to infiltrate and colonize planets. Leads to great paranoia. Who can you trust? The Silence. Creepy-looking, genetically engineered priests created by the Church of the Papal Mainframe. Their key ability is terrifying. Anyone who looks away from them instantly forgets ever seeing them, though subconscious suggestions remain. This allows them to secretly manipulate entire civilizations for centuries without anyone realizing. Imagine being subtly controlled your whole life and never knowing. Sontarans, the cloned warriors. Formidable, stocky humanoids, bred purely for battle, instantly recognizable by their bulbous heads and two-fingered hands. They're incredibly resilient due to their homeworld Sontar's hot gravity. They feel no fear, and they're locked in an eternal, galaxy-spanning war against the Rutans. Your main weakness, that probic vent on the back of their necks. Always aim for the vent. Pouting. Now these are weird. Diminutive, almost adorable-looking little bipedal creatures. But they consume any inorganic matter and energy metal, plastic, power sources. They're described as basically unkillable by conventional means and can survive in a vacuum. That's dealt with by stunning them or tricking them into eating something explosive because they're incredibly destructive to ships and technology.
It's amazing how diverse the threats are. Each really does require a different approach, reflecting the show perfectly.
Exactly. It's not always about fighting, it's about understanding the threat and finding a clever way around it.
Okay, from Earth, we absolutely must go to Gallifrey, the Doctor's fabled, often lost, sometimes found homeworld. What's their story? How did they become the enigmatic Time Lords?
The Time Lords are, or were, one of the oldest and most powerful species in the universe. Ancient, almost godlike beings who mastered time travel and achieved incredible technological feats, like harnessing black holes for power, the Eye of Harmony, inside every TARDIS being the prime example.
Were they always aloof guardians?
Apparently not. Early Gallifreyan history, before they fully became Time Lords, suggests they were often arrogant, interventionist, even cruel. They fought wars against other powerful species like the great vampires and sometimes used the universe as their toy box, manipulating lesser species or pitting them against each other for observation or sport.
What changed?
Eventually, figures like Rassilon and Omega led them towards a doctrine of strict non-interference. They retreated behind powerful temporal barriers, sealing Gallifrey off from the rest of the universe for the most part, and vowing to simply observe and guard time rather than meddle.
But that led to problems.
Yes, this isolation bred complacency. They became stagnant, decadent, more concerned with ceremony and internal politics than the universe outside. They forgot much of their own history, even losing the knowledge of how to operate some of the most ancient and powerful machines.
And that isolation wasn't permanent, was it? Something broke through that barrier eventually.
No. Ironically, while they were navel-gazing, they failed to notice other species, particularly the Daleks, developing technologies that could rival their own, including time travel. The Daleks eventually realized they could never achieve their goal of universal domination, while the Time Lords existed as potential opposition.
Leading to the Time War.
It's exactly the devastating last great time war. Gallifrey itself was shattered multiple times during and after that conflict. First, it was seemingly locked away in a pocket universe by the Doctor to end the war. Then, much later, it was brought back, only to be turned to ash and ruined by the Master after he uncovered the explosive secret of the Timeless Child, the hidden truth about the Doctor's own origins and unknown past incarnations.
Are they gone for good?
The source material is cagey, as it should be. It notes that given their regenerative abilities, their mastery over time, and their history of disappearing and reappearing, it's impossible to say if the Time Lords are truly gone forever. Their return, in some form, always seems like a possibility.
And speaking of returns, the Master. An ever-present foil, nemesis, sometimes frenemy to the Doctor. What defines this iconic villain who just refuses to stay defeated?
The Master is described perfectly as the Doctor's obsessive Time Lord nemesis. Statistically, they possess an Ingenuity score of 10, that's superhuman intellect, far exceeding the normal human maximum of 6, putting them on par with, or maybe even slightly exceeding, the Doctor's own brilliance.
What else characterizes them?
Their incredible flair for the dramatic, their unparalleled skill at regeneration, often finding very creative ways to come back, and their absolute stubborn refusal to simply die and stay dead. Their motivation is almost always deeply, personally tied to the Doctor, an obsession, a twisted friendship, a burning rivalry that spans millennia.
And they keep coming back, even from apparent final destruction.
Yes. The lore even suggests that during the Time War, the Time Lords became so desperate they started reviving deceased criminals and renegades, including the Master, to fight for them, giving him yet another chance at life in chaos. Their schemes are usually grand, universe-endangering, and almost always aimed at either destroying the Doctor, proving their superiority, or forcing the Doctor to acknowledge their crysted connection. Turning the last survivors of Gallifrey into a new breed of cybermasters after uncovering the timeless child's secret is a prime example of their scale and cruelty.
The Time War itself looms large over the modern era of the show, even though we rarely see it directly. What does the source material tell us about its sheer scale and nature?
It's consistently described as the most devastating, violent, or brutal war imaginable. A war fought throughout all of time and space, a conflict so paradoxical it's said that it will never end and has always been.
How did it start?
The Time Lords foresaw a future where the Daleks were the dominant, perhaps only, life form in the universe. They initially tried to prevent the Daleks' creation entirely, even sending the fourth Doctor back to Skaro on that mission. But that failed or only delayed the inevitable. The war escalated from there.
What was the fighting like?
Unimaginable horrors, entire civilizations obliterated as collateral damage or tactical necessity. Both sides drafted monstrous soldiers, degradations from alternate timelines, nightmarish paradox creatures. They unleashed ancient, forbidden weapons from the dark times, things the Time Lords had locked away centuries ago, with names like the Nightmare Child, the Kuvrv Bin King, and the Skaro degradations.
And the moment.
The moment was the ultimate weapon, apparently sentient, capable of destroying entire galaxies or even rewriting time on a massive scale. The Doctor eventually used it, or seemed to use it, to end the war by apparently obliterating both the Daleks and Gallifrey.
Though we later found out that wasn't quite the whole story.
Exactly. Both sides largely survived, just sealed away from each other and the rest of the universe in different ways. Gallifrey frozen in a pocket dimension, the Dalek fleet seemingly destroyed but inevitably returning. The Time War itself is described as existing now sealed away from the universe, a living hell fueled by hundreds of lives for all eternity, a constantly raging paradoxical conflict trapped in its own bubble from which only occasional glimpses or survivors escape.
Chilling stuff. Okay, let's move from the epic scale of the Time War to the practicalities of running adventures in this universe. Part 6. Running the adventure, the Game Master's art.
Right. How to actually make this happen at your table.
So we've covered the universe, the characters, the mind-bending physics. Now, how do you actually put all these amazing ingredients together to create a compelling adventure for yourself and your friends? It sounds like it could be a massive undertaking.
It can seem daunting, but it all starts with basic story structure. A beginning, a middle, and an end. Just like any good story.
Where do you start plotting?
Often, you start with the MacGuffin. That's your plot hook, that intriguing object, mysterious event, or compelling goal that gets the characters involved in the first place and drives the story forward.
Examples of MacGuffins.
Could be anything. A mysterious new drug that makes people vanish. An ancient Ark ship found adrift in space with only a few survivors and a cryptic message. A mummy stalking the corridors of a futuristic space liner. Or maybe just a strange, impossible puddle of water that appears after a local girl vanishes. Something weird that demands investigation.
That leads into the beginning.
Exactly. The beginning is where the player characters are introduced to the situation, encounter the MacGuffin or its effects, and feel compelled, either through curiosity, duty, or direct threat to get involved. Like Bill Potts encountering that strange puddle, or Ryan Sinclair finding that cold, weird alien object in the woods.
Then the middle.
The middle is where the bulk of the investigation takes place. The characters follow clues, talk to witnesses, explore locations, gradually uncovering more about what's really going on. Things usually heat up here. They might have encounters with lesser threats, maybe henchmen, or run into obstacles set by the main antagonist. Their initial plans might get foiled.
Leading to a twist?
Often, yes.
Oh.
The middle frequently culminates in a revelation, a major plot twist, where the true nature of the villain or the real scope of the problem is revealed. Maybe the person they thought was the villain is actually trying to help. Maybe the plan to take over the world is actually a desperate attempt to defend it from something worse. Keeps players guessing.
And finally, the end.
The end is the climax. This is where the characters confront the main villain or the core conflict head-on. They put their plans into action, face the biggest dangers, and hopefully resolve the central problem. This leads to the consequences of their actions, wraps up the main storyline, and ideally plants seeds or new story hooks for future adventures.
It really does sound like you're essentially creating, maybe outlining a whole season of television for your players, potentially.
That's a great way to think about it. The game supports different styles. You can run episodic adventures, self-contained stories, perhaps focusing on exploring a weird planet or delving into one character's background, much like standalone TV episodes.
Or longer arcs.
Or you can run campaign adventures where multiple episodes tie together into a grander, overarching storyline with recurring villains, ongoing mysteries, and character development across sessions, similar to a TV series with its own season-long theme and subplots.
What makes a good villain in this context?
The best villains, like on the show, are three-dimensional. They should have clear goals, both short-term, what they want now, and long-term, their ultimate ambition. They shouldn't just be evil for evil's sake. Their actions, however destructive, should be traceable back to these understandable, if twisted, motivations. Maybe it is universal domination, but why do they want it? Or maybe they're just trying to steal a starship to get back home.
And sometimes the villain isn't even a person.
Exactly. Sometimes the antagonist is just gravity pulling a ship into a black hole, or a spreading plague, or a natural disaster. This forces characters to use their ingenuity and skills to solve a problem where there's no clear bad guy to punch, emphasizing the Doctor's role as a problem solver, not just a fighter.
Okay, what about the practicalities of actually running a game like this, especially when players inevitably go off script, which they always do?
Yes, player agency is key. Being prepared helps immensely. Have things ready beforehand, lists of scenario-appropriate names for people, places, alien species, have pre-made stat blocks ready for potential non-player characters, NPCs they might encounter. Maybe even have some simple props, a coded message written on a napkin, a handmade matchbox containing a clue.
But you still need to improvise.
Oh, constantly. Improvisation is vital because players will go in unexpected directions. That's part of the fun. But having that basic framework, knowing the villain's goals and resources, helps you steer them back towards the plot eventually, or adapt the plot to follow their new unexpected direction.
How do you make NPCs memorable?
The game emphasizes making NPCs distinctive. Give them quirks, memorable catchphrases, strong opinions, or unique appearances. It helps players engage with them and remember who's who. And crucially, remember the player characters are the leads.
They're the stars of the show.
Exactly. NPCs are there to support the story, provide information, create obstacles, or highlight the player's choices and heroism, even if those NPCs are highly competent themselves. The Game Master should act as a fair and neutral moderator, listening carefully to the player's ideas and intentions, but making the final call on rules and outcomes to keep the game moving forward smoothly.
Now, even intrepid time travelers need a break from constantly saving the universe. What's downtime all about in this game? It sounds important.
Downtime is the period spent between adventures. It's where you manage the more mundane but still important aspects of your character's life back home or wherever they consider home. The game breaks this down into three areas: career, relationships, and family.
How do these play out?
Well, maybe your character has a job back on Earth. They might face a career and crisis event during downtime. Perhaps they risk getting fired if they don't show up and prove themselves after being away for weeks on an adventure. Adds a personal stake.
Relationship.
Relationship events can involve anything from finding new love to forgetting a crucial anniversary or dealing with trust issues because friends or partners are wondering where you keep disappearing to.
And family?
Family events might involve dealing with a missing family member, having arguments about your lifestyle, or being guilt-tripped into attending mandatory family gatherings. These create engaging personal subplots and allow for character growth and role-playing outside of the direct saving the universe plot lines.
Makes them feel like real people with lives beyond the tortoise.
Precisely. And mechanically, downtime is also where you can spend the experience points, XP, you earned during the last adventure. You can use XP to improve your skills, buy new specializations, or recover from those lingering negative conditions you picked up. It connects their personal life and recovery directly to their growth as an adventurer.
Okay, wrapping things up. Any final advice for a game master or player who's thinking of diving into this kind of role-playing experience, especially given it's tied to such a beloved franchise?
Yes, definitely. The rules are there to help, to provide a solid structure, but a good game master knows when to bend them slightly for the sake of drama, fun, or the overall story. Remember the Doctor's line, "Good men don't need rules."
So find the balance.
It's all about finding that balance between adhering to the rules and prioritizing the narrative flow and player enjoyment. Focus on keeping your players engaged. Really listen to what they enjoy doing, which characters they connect with, what kind of stories excite them, and adapt the game accordingly.
And be patient.
Absolutely. Time is on your side, as the game cheekily puts it. Don't feel rushed to get through plot points. Let players explore that weird alien market. Let them have that meaningful conversation with an NPC. Let them tinker with the TARDIS console. If they're having fun and engaged with what's happening, let it ride. The most important thing always is for everyone at the table to have a good time and collaboratively tell an exciting, unforgettable story together.
Fantastic advice. Well, from the intricacies of character creation and the really thrilling mechanics of conflict resolution.
The mind-bending physics of time travel and the sprawling, dangerous, wonderful universe of Gallifrey, Earth, E-space, and beyond.
We've explored the foundations of truly epic storytelling packed within this role-playing game.
What's really remarkable here, I think, is the sheer breadth of imagination, coupled with a surprising amount of logical depth that's gone into creating this playable universe, and how it genuinely empowers you, the player, to be the hero of your own Doctor Who epic.
It really does.
It leaves you with an important question, doesn't it? If you had access to a machine, a TARDIS, or something like it, that could take you anywhere, any when, any reality, what kind of story would you choose to tell? The possibilities, as we've definitely learned today, are truly endless. What stands out most to you about this incredible universe and the stories it lets you create?
Something to ponder. Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary journey today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep delving into the wonders that lie just beyond the familiar. This has been the Uncanny Valley Podcast.